Appium tutorial series, and in this tutorial we are going to focus more towards testing with emulator and how you can set up your Appium Inspector, right, along with the emulator, because that is quite important, right? When you start working on mobile testing with emulator, you need to identify the elements, so your inspector setup should be there and you should be able to connect these two dots, means your emulator and your inspector, right? So let's start with the session, but I would definitely suggest, if you haven't watched our previous session where we have discussed like how to set up the emulator, how to start a emulator, those are kind of prerequisite for the session. So I would suggest definitely watch that session so that you would have a ready emulator along with you, then only we can start with this one, right? So take a pause if you haven't watched that. I will post the link in the description section, right, so that you can go back and watch that before coming to this. Okay, so my name is Siddharth. I guess mostly all of you must have seen me somewhere in LinkedIn or maybe in our previous tutorial series. I have experience in all automation like API, UI and mobile, and exposure to DevOps too. And LambdaTest is helping us to prepare those videos so that all the QA community will get benefited and learn about the latest technology or the automation techniques which we use to leverage the manual efforts, right? Because that's what we try to do in automation, correct? So let's start with our today's session, which is mostly focused on how to use your emulator for testing, and the second one is how to install your inspector and how to connect that inspector with your emulator, right? Connecting the two dots. So before we jump into that, I thought that let's give you a brief idea that what is an .apk file and what is an .ipa file, right? Okay, so let's talk about APK first. So APK is nothing but your Android package skip file. We usually say it as a extension, right? This is kind of an extension of a file which will help you to install your Android application in the emulator or your cloud hosted device, right? So what usually happen when you start working on mobile testing, the first requirement would be how to get your .apk file. Usually what happens, we used to get one Jenkins job link where we have to run the job or maybe do the build, and after that automatically a .apk file get generated. We need to download that .apk file into our local machine, and then we have to use that .apk file in our emulator or in your cloud hosted device for testing. So whenever you start working on mobile testing, the first thing you should aware of that initial or prerequisite should be you have the .apk file so that you can start with your testing. One more important point over here, make sure that whatever .apk file you are getting for testing, it is supported for your emulators and all. Mostly it's all are supported, but for cross check I would definitely suggest to check this point too, right? So the first point, where to get your .apk file. Second point, is it supported for the emulators or not. Second is IPA. IPA is similar to .apk, but this is for basically iOS app. So if we say in a simpler terms, .apk is for Android and IPA is for iOS or iPhone. So now here also the same step, how you get, usually in most of the organization we have a Jenkins job which you will run, and once you build that, automatically .ipa file will get created. Always remember that most of the times these IPA and APK would be two different Jenkins job, right? So once you execute it, automatically APK or IPA will get generated. You need to download those APK and IPA in your local machine and you are good to go for your testing. One more point to note over here, you cannot execute your IPA in Android or the vice versa. That means your APK also you cannot execute in your iPhone, right? So but there is little bit more setup you may need to do for IPA. Sometimes some IPAs doesn't work with simulators. You need to get a separate IPA, so you need to figure out that way. As I told, for APK you need to confirm that it will work in emulator or not. Same manner you need to confirm that your IPA will work with the simulator or not. So APK and IPA, what are these two things? Those are nothing but your file extension which will help you to install the application for testing in your emulator and simulator. APK for Android, IPA for iOS, right? Okay, so now we will see how we can install .apk in emulator. Before that, what I will do, I will move forward and start the emulator, right? So how we can start the emulator? We need to do Android Studio, correct? I am going to open the Android Studio. See, I'm opening the Android Studio. This one we have covered in our previous session. So you haven't watched that, then definitely I would suggest go and watch it. So this emulator we have created in our previous series. Now I am going to kickstart this emulator. So I am going to start the emulator. See, whenever you click on this button, a new fresh emulator, means it's not like I've created it fresh, we have already created in the previous session. Same emulator, I am just using it, right? So it will start. If you can see, this is how our emulator looks like, correct? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag it over here, right? I'm going to drag those screens over here and my Android emulator over here. Now what I need to do, I need to install the .apk file over here. So installing .apk file is very easy. You just have to drag and drop. Okay, it's not like a very lengthy process or something. Sometimes in some organization they may help you to get your APK in some another means. So make sure in your prerequisite setup, along with the .apk, you should get the steps how to consume your .apk in your emulator, or how to use your .apk in your emulator. So now I have already installed one .apk practice. You can use that. So which APK I am using, I am going to show you over here. Okay, this is basically the tutorial, Appium tutorial blog that I have written with LambdaTest. I would definitely share this link with you so you can refer it. Here I have provided one .apk, right, demo application, and one .ipa demo application on iPhone. So one for Android, one for iOS. So just click on this, you will get a .apk and .ipa which you can use, right, for your testing purpose. I have already downloaded it. So this is my android.apk file. So this is somehow some file similar to this you will also get, right, when you start your mobile testing page, correct? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this in my emulator. How? You just need to drag and drop over here, right? See, now ADB path is failed. So why this happens? This is very important. Knowingly I have done this. So what you need to do before you start on this one, you need to check that your ADB is properly started or not, right? So what you need to do, correct? As I told, I have knowingly set it up because I want to show you that before you can install, I am using Mac machine. So when you try to install an APK, correct, when you try to install an APK in your emulator with your Mac machine, you need to do couple of more setup. Okay, I'm going to show you that thing. Okay, so let me do that right away. How we can do that setup, right? We need to take help of one more small application. I'm going to show you that one. What you need to do, you need to go to this APK editor studio. Okay, I will share this website link also. You come over here, APK editor studio, and then what you need to do, you need to install this APK editor. Okay, what you need to do next, come down and click on this download button. When you click on this download button, it will ask you that what kind of machine you have. So now I have I have Mac OS and I want to download the DMG. So you can also do the same, download the DMG. Once the download is complete, what you need to do, you need to install APK editor. Okay, by just dragging and drag that APK editor into your application folder in Mac, and you are done. APK editor is installed. Now what you need to do, you need to open the APK editor. It may give you an access error. So to avoid that, sometime we get, right, that you cannot open an application like that directly. So for that you can directly go to your system preferences and some over here, right, go to your Apple logo, system preferences, security and privacy, and then you can just click on that. You are allowing to open that APK editor, right? So it's the normal when we download any application, it happens, right? So same way you need to just open the APK editor. Once you open the APK editor, it will look something like this. Right now you need to make sure one more thing over here, that your your emulator is up and running. Right, so once your emulator is up and running, you need to install the APK editor and you need to open the APK editor. Once your APK editor is opened, what you need to do, you need to install the APK. How we are going to do that? Install APK. Now select a device. Here it is already showing me the emulator 5554. Right, because I have already opened it. So keep in mind that before you try this, you should open your emulator, then only you should open APK editor. So it must be in sequence. Now I need to install. Right, so where I am going to get this, I have kept it in my documents. Right, so on this install, and we are going to select the .apk file, open. Now what it will do, it will install the APK in our emulator. Right, if you can see over here, it is showing installing APK. So what we will do, we are going to see that. Okay, see, if I will show over here, it is showing done and my .apk proverbial is already installed. Right, so it's a little bit tricky, but it's not that difficult. Right, just APK editor you need to make sure. That's why I've shown you how to where to get the APK editor, how to download the APK editor, and installation is as usual simple. You need to come over here and let me again show you this one. Let me uninstall it. Okay, I'm uninstalling it and I'm going to install it again. Right, let me show you that one too. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this one. We have uninstalled it. Right, so we will try to install it again. Right, so installation is again the same process. Selecting this one, install this one, open, and come over here, proverbial is visible. Right, so we are able to install the APK into our emulator. Now there is one more setup, as I told, we are going to cover in this. Right, our emulator is set up, we know. Now you can just click on the buttons and you can explore how you can perform the testing. Different options we have over here. For example, if you want to just lock your screen, you can use this button. Right, and if you want to move back, you can use this button. You can use this button also to move back. If you want to see all the opened applications, you can click on this button and you can just swipe and close all the applications, just like we do in our Android phones. Right, so all the actions that you perform in your real device, most of the actions has been you can say simulated over there in our Android emulator. So let's go back to our next slide over here. So our next slide is this one. We have covered how we can install and everything. Right, now we are going to learn how to install Appium Inspector and set up desired capabilities for emulator. This is one of the more important things. So now what we are going to do, we are going to install Appium Inspector. Right, then we are going to set up the desired capabilities for our emulator, and we try to open our emulator from the inspector. Right, then only you can identify your elements. So how we are going to do that, let me show you the entire demo. First, what you need to do, we are over here. Right, let's first uninstall this again. Right, I am going to uninstall it again. I've uninstalled it. Right, my emulator is up and running. What I am going to do, I need to download the inspector. So how I am going to download the inspector, what I need to do, I need to come over here. Okay, I need to open my Appium. Right, Appium server GUI. So before you jump into the inspector and all, first you need to start your Appium. Right, I will show you how you will go to that place and install your inspector from scratch. So now I'm going to start the server. In short, I'm starting the Appium server. Right, you need to click on this button. Can you see inspector moved? Click on this button, it will redirect you over here. Okay, inspector, can you see Appium Inspector? It will redirect you over here. You need to come down. Okay, and click on this releases button. Okay, for your Appium Inspector to get installed in your machine, click on this releases button. It will redirect you to another page where you will be able to see lot of download option. For me, it is Appium Inspector Mac 2023 2.1 DMG. So you can select whichever is means which one is convenient for your operating system. You need to select as per that. I have Appium Inspector Max, so I have to install this one. Once you download this one, just double click on it and your installation will be done. There is nothing more different in it, just you should know where to download. Once you download it, double click on it, installation will be done. Once your installation is done, what you need to do, you need to open the inspector. See, I have already installed it. Just drag and drop to application, installation is same. Once you open this one, what you need to do, you need to fill very important fields over here. First, you need to fill the remote host. Remote host supposed to be 127.0.0.1. Then you need to fill the remote port. The remote port supposed to be 4723 because that's where we are running our Appium server. Then you need to select 100% this remote path. You need to select /wd/hub. Pay attention over here. If you don't set up these three things, you are unable to open your application or APK in your emulator using the inspector. Now you must be thinking, just now I have shown you that we can use this means we can use this APK editor studio to install our APK into emulator. Then why you are again asking us to do the same thing with inspector? Why? Because if you don't open your APK in your emulator using inspector, then you cannot identify element. If you can't identify element, how you will automate the functional flow? So for our future Appium automation, we are doing this setup so that we can identify the objects. Once you are done with these three things, go to advanced settings, click on this allow unauthorized certificates. Okay, click on this one. So 4 things, right? Remote host, remote port, remote path, advanced settings, and allow unauthorized certificates. Now what you need to do, you need to create a capability set. How and what are the fields you need to add in your capability set? I have already provided it over here, right? So what you need to do, those things we have already covered, right? Install Appium launch, Appium install, Appium desktop, install Appium inspector, right? Now connect to your emulator. How you will connect your inspector to your emulator? You need to use this capability set, your platform name, your platform version, your device name, your automation name, and the path where you have kept your .apk file, right? And the path where you have kept your .apk file. So the same thing we are going to do. I'm going to just copy paste this one. Okay, see, you have to pay attention over here because every field we need to fill over there, right? Platform name Android. Why I'm choosing this Android 8.1.0? Because this is the setup of my own emulator, right? And how do I know that this is the setup of my own emulator? Over here, if you go, see what is the name of my emulator? Pixel 6 LambdaTest Appium series. That's why device name Pixel 6 LambdaTest Appium series. Now what is this? Android 8.1. So I have written platform name Android, but platform version instead of 8.1, 8.1.0 I have mentioned. Why? The reason behind it means how you can get this one. Go to your settings, okay, and what you need to do, drag down over here, go to system, about emulator device. If you come over here, Android version is 8.1.0. The same thing I have mentioned over here. Platform name Android and platform version is this one. Device name is this one. Automation name by default for our Android setup is UI Automator 2. And this app, here you need to put the path where you have kept your .apk file, right? Where you have kept your .apk file. So I have kept my .apk file over there in my downloads folder. That's why I have written it, written the path like this. You just my name and downloads and proverbial Android APK, right? So now what you have to do, you have to mirror image the same thing in your inspector. So here you need to add like this. For example, here I want to add I want to show you couple of steps. Platform name Android, right? So platform name Android I need to put over here in the inspector. So what I will do, platform name, what is the platform name? Android. Once you click on plus, see, once you add this line, automatically here one entry will happen in the JSON, right? Similarly, you need to add all the fields that I have mentioned in the PPT. I have already added those previously, right? See, once you do everything, it will look something like this. Platform name, platform version, and then device name, automation name, and then your app. Everything you need to put in this sequence. Once you do this one, what you need to do, you need to just click on start session, right? And you understood, right? Platform name, Android, platform version, as I have shown you, that you need to go to your emulator, come over here, fetch the version from this place. Device name, you need to come over here and see the name. What is the device name you have given? Automation name would be UI Automator 2. App should be the path where you have kept your android.apk file, right? Now you need to click on start session. We are going to do, we are going to click on start session button. Once we click on the start session button, what it will do, it will open our Android inspector, right? And it will help us to identify the web element. Just before that, I'm just making sure our emulator is up and running. That's correct. And I have kept my android.apk in this path. I am clicking on start session. Here we go, right? It will take some time. Okay, let me open the emulator also, so that it will give a clear picture. And I'm going to make it a little bit expand. Okay, and I will keep this part in this section, so it will look in a sync. Can you see? Now it opens, right? That means it works. Whatever JSON we have used, what do we mean by this page? This page means that whatever page you have on your emulator, the same page is present in your locator, your inspector, right? Now it would be easy for you to identify the object. Now let's just see how you can identify an object. This is my proverbial app, correct? For example, I want to identify the color button, correct? You need to click on this, you need to come over here. There will be two different sections you need to focus on. One section is this middle part and another section is the rightmost part. Middle part is nothing but your DOM structure. How we have the DOM structure while working with Selenium for a web page, similar DOM structure also you can find in Appium Inspector, right? Why this DOM structure is presented over here? Because if you are unable to identify any object with the property already mentioned in the rightmost part, means this section, this is the right section. Here you can see all the different types of property and their value. For example, your ID, its value, your XPath and value. So all those property and value you can find in the rightmost section. So what you should do, you should first pick those property and value combination. Most of the time it will work to identify your object uniquely. But due to some instance or due to some problem, if you are unable to identify your element using the key and value or the property and value mentioned in the rightmost section, then only you move to the center location. In the center location, you have the entire DOM structure. You can go through the DOM structure and you can easily write your own XPath to identify the object. That's what we do in the web, and the same thing we need to do using your Appium Inspector. Similarly, let's give it a try for geolocation. See, you can identify with ID, proverbial geolocation. For text also you can identify with text. Speed test also you can identify with speed test. But now there is a twist over here. I want to get inside the geolocation and I want to identify some object. How I will go? Because I am clicking on it, but it is not taking me to another page. So what you need to do, you need to perform the same action in the emulator. So if you want to identify anything in the geolocation page, click on the emulator. See, I have clicked on emulator. Now I want to identify tools, but where is tools over here? Because I need to see it over here, right? Then only I can identify. Here is a catch. You need to click on this button, refresh source and screenshot. Refresh. Can you see now what happened? Now you can easily see that whatever is present on my emulator, the same image is present over here. Now I want to identify tools. Simply go and click on tools. You can come down, see online tools tool, right? This is the center, but which one you will focus first? On the right, accessibility ID, online tools. So definitely you will go with accessibility ID. That's what I told. The first priority would be the rightmost section. If you are unable to identify by using the property and value provided in the rightmost section, then only come to the center. I always prefer this location, but it has some another options of attributes toggle, and you can copy this XML source, you can download it. Okay, if you want to download it and do some analysis also you can do, or if you want to share it with someone you can do that. It comes handy because sometimes what happens, if your friend is working on some automation and he is unable to identify some of the objects, you can ask your another friend who has the setup, he can download this one and share it with you so he can identify the object. And there are some more options like command section, session information. Session information also you can use over here. It has all the session information. Okay, desired capabilities, here also you will get to see the desired capabilities. It comes very handy. Okay, when you automate, when we start automation, you will see this comes very handy. It has multiple combinations also. Many people are not aware of this, so do remember that this is a very nice thing which comes very handy. Okay, so now similarly you can go to blog, you can identify the object, right? Blog is reviews blog, accessibility ID, or you can go to the search button, correct? So any page you want to go, you can simply add. But remember, if you are moving from one location to another, for example, now you want to identify something in the notification, some pop-up like this, right? How you will identify? You need to click on this sync, right? Once you click on this sync, then only you will be able to identify. Let me minimize the Appium. I don't need Appium right now, I just need notification, correct? Over here, correct? Similarly you can go to speed test, you can go to test, and any option you want to explore, you can come over here and explore. And identification is going to remain same. Click on the button, try the rightmost part, and then move on to the center location, right? So this is how you can use Appium Inspector to identify different elements on your mobile application, right? Hope you understand this section, right? Let's move on to the next part of it, right? Correct. Wrap up this session. Let me recap couple of things because we have discussed a lot of things, right? So I know there are chances we may forget, so let me revise everything. First you need to figure out that how you can install the .apk in your emulator, right? And for that what we need to do, we need to go back to our editor, right? The editor that I have shown you, correct? APK editor studio, right? The link I will give you, basically this is the link, verticube.com. Here you can find the APK editor, download it, install it, and then you are good to go for use, right? Just come over here, click on this cross button, install APK, and then you need to select the APK. It will automatically install it in your emulator. But what point to note over here, you need to first open your emulator, then only try to install the APK over here using APK editor studio. Once this part is done, what you need to do, you need to learn how you can install the Appium Inspector. How you install Appium Inspector, how you can install, come over here, come to this link, right? Download the DMG, double click on it or move it to application folder. Your inspector will be up and ready. Once your inspector is up and ready, what you need to do, you need to initial 4 setup. What are the initial 4 setup you need to do? You need to come over here, you need to set up the remote host, remote port, remote path, and then you need to go to advanced settings, allow unauthorized certificates. Then you need to enter this field in sequence: platform name, platform version, device name, automation name, and app. Once all those setups are done, you need to click on start session, and then you are good to go, right? Your Appium Inspector is up, your emulator is there, you can identify your object, but don't forget to use the sync button. So now with this session we have completed the initial setup of inspector, how to use the APK in emulator, and in next session we are going to start working on automation, because we get a fair idea like how to install emulator, how to install APK in emulator, how to set up Appium Inspector. Now we will start our automation from the next session. So from the next session onwards it would be more and more interesting, right? So before moving that, I'm going to provide this one definitely to you folks so that it will help you to do the setup, right? Now there is one more option. Instead of going through all those puzzles, you can directly use emulators and simulators provided by LambdaTest, okay? Or LambdaTest is very smooth. Actually, I have tried it. So I'm going to show you how you can do the same steps using LambdaTest. What you need to do, you need to create it. So I am going to show you how you can do that, okay? What you need to do, you need to create an account with LambdaTest, okay? And then you can take a trial version just to give it a try that how usually it looks. So you can create a demo account with LambdaTest, and then you can log in. Once you log in, you will land over here in this page. You need to go to this real-time testing, click on this app testing virtual. Here you are going to get all the list of emulators and simulators available with us. So now if you want to check the simulators, those are the iPhone related device type and the OS, and here it is Android related device type and OS. Any one you want you can create. So it's simple. Instead of doing the entire setup, emulators setup in your local machine, you are taking help of a cloud hosted emulators. So what I'm going to do, I have selected Google Pixel 6 and I am going to start this one. Once I start this one, what it will do, I have already kept a couple of APK, the proverbial APK that we have used for our emulator setup, and there is a sample APK also. Both are present. So once this is up, what you need to do, see, proverbial Android app, whichever we have used, is already set up. Isn't it easy? It's quite easy. I know it's very easy. If you want to just test in the emulator, this is very easy to do. Okay, you just need to come over here. You can install new also. Okay, if you want to install some new, you can install a new APK. You can kill this app. You can uninstall the app. You can uninstall the app also. See, it will uninstall the app. Correct? You can kill the app. You can uninstall the app. Right? So once you are done with the testing, you can just end the session. That's it. You're good to go. Right, whatever APK you want to test over here, just upload it over here in this list. Okay, I have uploaded it before, so that's why actually it installed. Once I started it, it immediately installed. So make sure that before you start this session, you have uploaded your APK over here so that it would be easy for you. Right, so I hope you have understood all the things that we have covered. But if you have any doubt, then you can definitely put it in the comment section. I will try to resolve that, or you can reach out to me in my LinkedIn profile. Right, it's Siddharth Shukla. You can search. You can easily get it. So give it a try, and do let me know if you get stuck somewhere, or if you need more debugging, then we can add more content to it. But as a referral, I would definitely suggest go through this blog. Okay, it will help you a lot. So let's wrap up our today's session. Right, we have done this step also, and first of all, thanks to definitely LambdaTest, who helps us to create those kind of good content for the QA community. They are providing some certifications also, so it's worth a try. Go and give it a try. It will may add some value to your resume. Right, and if you want to learn more, do like this video, comment whatever issues you are facing, and subscribe to the channel. Right, so with that, I'm going to leave you guys with all the topics we have covered. Try to explore it of your own. Let's meet in our next session with automation. Right, bye bye.